Jim, Martha? Ready? I'd like to open the Board of Supervisors meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the attendees sign in if you haven't done so, if you're going to speak tonight, please? If you wish to make a comment, I wish to be recognized by the chair, then come to the microphone and speak clearly and identify yourself, please. The meeting is going to be videotaped by the township. Is there anyone else recording the meeting at all? So that all attendees of the meeting are aware? Okay, thank you. Board of Supervisors, I look to see if you read over the minutes of both the reorganization meeting and the regular meeting. Any corrections or such?
No, sir.
I'm sure we'll bring it up under new business, but the noise ordinance by Mr. Morrison, we'll be bringing that up later on under old business, and what he's done so far.
And I have a report from the regional planning.
Is that in the minutes? Okay.
No, it's under 2 minutes.
All right. Is there anything else from the minutes that anybody wants to change? Any wording, grammar, et cetera?
No, sir.
Okay. Acceptance of reports.
Shall we make a motion to approve the minutes?
No, it all comes under consent agenda. Acceptance of reports. All department, committee, commission, and council reports is posted and received by the Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion? Or no, do I hear a second to accept them?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Any 2-minute reports?
Yes, I'd like to report on the Regional Planning Commission meeting that was held last Wednesday night, January 28th. The supervisor from Charlestown Township presented a draft sketch plan to us for improvements in Charlestown Park. And there are no major changes that are planned. The first part of the project is to reconstruct the pavilion area with the same size dimensions. Second phase is to provide additional parking. The third phase is to update the existing parking. I asked if the facilities would be open to everyone, and the answer was yes.
And that's good news, because it is a bit long in the tooth. I mean, it's needed to be updated and repaired
Exactly.
for a while, and it's good that they're doing that.
Right, so no major changes planned, but I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And the Regional Planning Commission unanimously voted to support the township in whatever improvements may be planned by PennDOT along the way once that has been determined in a regional perspective, to hope that there would be an incentive-based contract for that. So Ed Thurkoff, who is the consultant, is working on a draft which we will review at our meeting in March.
Thank you, Barbara. I'd like to turn the meeting over to our treasurer about payment of the bills on our treasurer's report.
I reviewed all of our bills this afternoon and went through everything. Everything is in order and can be paid. As far as the treasurer's report is concerned, we have a balance of just over $2 million as of January 31st. In our general fund, excuse me. You know, when I give this report, I usually say the balance that's in the general fund. I don't really give the balance for all of the funds. Is that okay with you guys? Because generally, we pay the bills out of
The general fund, yes, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Martha, I will say this with the TV cameras on. We trust yours and Mary's integrity without question.
Okay. There's also one other thing that I wanted everyone to notice too. In our actual revenues, on the first page, we actually have some cell tower revenues in there. So that's a good thing to have too. So does anyone have any questions for me about the bills? Or any questions about the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It's a big problem, I'll tell you why.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
We can talk about it.
Under announcements, I have a number of them. Public announcements. The Township's Administration and Roads Department will be closed on Monday, February 16th for President's Day. The Valley Forge Fire Company soup sale, which they have great soup if everybody wants to get some soup, is February 21st. Visit the website and place your orders. That's on February 21st. Historical Commission meeting will be on Monday, February 23rd at 6:30. Please check the Township website for meeting dates for all our boards, councils, and for our commissions, what's going on. Mark your calendars and be sure to join your neighbors and township reps on Wednesday, March 11th at the Phoenixville Country Club for As the Township Turns, where you can be part of the discussion on where we are, what we are doing, and where we're going. Barbara, do you want to say anything more about that?
No, I just have a lot of positive feedback from our commission chair so far. And this is the time to bring up your thoughts and ideas and to hear what our volunteers are doing for all of us that evening. So Wednesday, March 11th at 7:30. And Fred, if I could ask your indulgence.
Sure, go ahead.
For in my other life, I'm president of the Schuylkill River Heritage Center, and we have a unique program coming up on Tuesday, March 10th. That's the night before the township get-together. Jerry Kirkpatrick, who is a managing partner of Environmental Standards, that is a company actually located in Schuylkill Township, will share the story of how his company works across the country to evaluate and create innovative solutions for former industrial sites so they can be restored for productive use. And there's some pictures on the flyer that we have that show the historic Phoenixville Foundry as it was before restoration, and a wholesale food distribution center that has been amazingly restored in Philadelphia. So it should be a very interesting program. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Barbara. To stay in touch with what's going on in the community or for our township, please join our mailing list and the township website. For my colleagues, February 23rd, a 422 Coalition meeting at the Phoenixville Borough Hall. February 25th is a presentation for Pennsylvania Environmental Council members. The 3 revolutions of the Schuylkill at Valley Forge National Park. Contact the PEC for more information or see me afterwards and we'll take care of that. March 9th is the annual legislative breakfast at the Radisson Valley Forge. Register. See me if you want to go to the legislative breakfast at all. And March 12th is the Cato Spring Conference at the Desmond Hotel. There's a number of key seminars going on there that I think that my colleagues would be very interested in if you can make it. I know Martha can't because she's working. But if any of the rest of you ought to check on those seminars because we can learn something from our contemporaries from other townships and such and what's going on. And it's always best to stay updated and know what's happening within our various places. Does anybody want to, would you please sign me up for the Cato Conference? Okay, Okay.
When is that? March?
March 12th. Does anybody have any other announcements?
No, sir.
Okay. Legal matter, Bill.
I've read two things to discuss. In January, you recall that the Nolan project, the Valley Forge Meadows Company apartment complex was subject to approval for the preliminary plan, and there was a resolution, and that required a signature agreeing to the conditions by the applicant. John Snyder called me. John's Mr. Nolan's lawyer. He said that there was something that his client felt was a little bit ambiguous about the approval, primarily because there was a section in the conditions that said that there'd be a prohibition on further subdivision or development of the open space, meaning the open space within the 10 acres that was subject to the approval, not within the other 19 acres, which is the area that's under consideration for purchasing conservation easement. So he asked if we could get together to work on language to make it clear that nothing in the conditional preliminary subdivision approval shall restrict any right that the applicant may have to seek and obtain, if compliant with all applicable township ordinances and developmental regulations, development of the 19.02 acre portion of the property, if it is not subjected by the property owner to a conservation easement purchased by the township. That was the deal all along. This is simply a clarification to allow Mr. Snyder to sleep better at night. So I told him, it's in your packet, I told him that it should not be a problem because it simply restates the fact that he got approval for the 10 acres. I mean, 19 acres is not part of that approval, and there was nothing that we did or could do under those circumstances to restrict development on the 19 acres because it was not part of the approval. So I ask for your approval of the consent language contained in the acceptance document signed by Mr. Nolan on January 14th, 2015, which is in your packet.
Well, I would make a motion to the board that we accept the consent agreement as stated by our solicitor, Mr. Bill Brennan. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
The second thing, Fred, is the Ozarowski case. We received an offer to settle. I'd like to discuss that with you in executive session briefly. This is payment by someone that sued the township. The court ordered them to pay us back for legal fees, and so we'll discuss the amount in executive session, okay? Great.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, anything more in old business? Bill? Jim?
Well, if you want to discuss the noise.
Yeah, it's old business, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I mentioned that last board meeting, I'd be looking into a noise ordinance possibility for the township. Right now, we have something very general in that regard. It's a nuisance ordinance. Noise ordinances are typically more specific as to the noise sources. So we've obtained 10 municipal ordinances along these lines. We're taking a look at those provisions, and we'll probably be having an internal meeting this month to go over these provisions to come to grips with exactly what we want in a noise ordinance to be put before the board.
Jim, do you plan on writing the ordinance itself?
Well, it depends on whether we got to have a group meeting first, a committee meeting, if you will. Of some
Well,
kind.
I gather that, but for the public,
Okay.
after it's written, I think we should make it public and state it, either put it on the website or have where people can pick it up so they actually know what the contents of this noise ordinance are, and we can hear comments about it.
If it moves forward to the writing stage, I'm willing to write it. Okay, I don't think we're at that point yet.
The code requires that I write it, but it's okay. I'll be happy to look at what you.
Thank you, Bill. We all appreciate that.
Thank
We have a question, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, good evening. Will the public have any input into the wording of the ordinance?
That's why I said that, that's why I clarified that's for you. So you do have input to it. And you can read it, and you'll hear from,
Well, I'd like to have some input
Oh,
before
okay.
it's written,
okay,
so that our input becomes part of the writing.
sure,
Right.
okay.
You could, Jim puts together a draft, that's exactly by definition what it is, so everybody would have input appropriately to add, subtract, or change.
Okay.
Well, I think the way we're probably gonna do this is we'll come up with a very working minimal draft, and somehow make that public, and, you know, get your input from that, and then we'll probably have to go back to talking about it again.
Okay, just let me back up for a second. The
Sure.
ordinary course of business is that the ordinance is drafted
Yeah.
by by me and on directions by the board, and then it is advertised for discussion. It's at that time that the public normally gives its input.
Okay.
So I don't want to have there to be any misunderstanding about the public getting in the middle of the drafting process. If you want to do that, you're permitted to do that. That's not our standard practice. It's not the standard practice of any township that I know of to bring assistance in the drafting process. The time for the public comment is when it's advertised, and then the public is entitled to comment at that time. That's how it works.
After it's advertised, huh?
Okay,
That's
so then
correct.
there's no input.
No, he didn't say that.
Well, I think what we've typically done, and we get to this point now, this is all conditional on
Get it all ready.
getting to an actual ordinance draft. After it's advertised, there's no
Come on,
specific timeline
No.
for the board to actually
The
pass.
heavy stuff.
If you wish to bring input,
heavy
that's up to
stuff's
you,
coming.
but the standard operating procedure is the ordinance is drafted, advertised, and that's the time for comment. When it's,
The difficulty with that, though, taking into account their wishes here, is that typically what we do is we draft an ordinance, or somebody drafts it, it gets advertised, and the next month we typically pass it if there are no changes to it. If there are changes to it, then we have to re-advertise.
That's correct.
Right.
So that's the process.
But I think the degree and level of passion and interest in wanting to have some input is commendable. The question regarding this is when and how it is appropriate. So I think having a draft for everyone to look at is a good way forward, if that's acceptable, Bill.
it's fine, and you can change the process if you wish. I'm just saying that normally it's done the way it's
We
always
don't want
been.
it to be so arbitrary. We want to
Okay.
make sure
It's not
that
gonna
the
be arbitrary,
public
but-
has
but we
input
should
at
do
the
it
appropriate
within-
time.
Thank you, Bob.
But Barbara, it should be done in consequence with the legalities, so it doesn't come back to haunt us or bite us in the tail.
Right.
I
A draft
I
is
fully,
by
I fully
definition a
agree that the
draft.
public should be aware of it, and that's why I mentioned it from the very beginning, from the concept of the origination of the concept. I wanted to make sure, because these people are very interested in this noise ordinance, and would like to know what's part of it, and so I specifically wanted to ensure
Do you
that.
have a prototype ordinance from another township to follow?
Well,
Good question.
as I mentioned initially, we actually have taken a look at 10 of them. Yeah, 10 of them.
If you're gonna get up, if you're gonna say something, please stand up so we
Okay.
know who you are.
I just know that they did it in Avalon, New Jersey, they had the noise ordinance where the geniuses got together and the township wrote a check for $2.5 million. Because those ordinances crossed the line. Now, maybe it's not applicable here. That noise ordinance is one thing, you're looking at the industrial side. If you wanna take a noise ordinance and go into somebody's home because the party's too loud,
That's true.
you gotta be careful. So when you take that noise ordinance, you gotta break it into two parts, but I'm sure you do that.
I think we all here on this board, at least I know myself, and I think some of my colleagues, I'm not sure, this is a very controversial type issue to have a noise ordinance, because it contains so much, and it can touch off so much of little things that could cause major consequences to the township, to the police force, to whatever's happening. We've got to ensure that it's very technically correct. If not, we got a big problem, and even a bigger problem. Well, So, okay, I do understand that. But, and that's why it will be looked at very closely, but I want you to look at it too, so, okay. Any more old business? Thanks, Jim. Any more? All right, well, go to new business. Mr. Heck and Ms. Dunn.
Yep. I'm gonna let Brains and Judy go first.
Okay.
Just want to say thank you for allowing John and I to speak before yourself. The reason we're here is because, I guess, as you all have received a copy, or at least I hope you have, I hope Mary Bird has distributed
I have.
a summary of the experience that we have had with some township, and a township official and some EAC committee members who I kind of think were out of sorts with their authority. I think what had happened to us, we were targeted, and I think some things kind of went a little too far. So we basically spent a significant amount of time summarizing the facts. We obtained a right-to-know documentation from your township and summarized all the facts, because I think what had happened is somebody specifically targeted us as a neighbor and started something, and then there was a big reaction to that, and the facts were garbled, and EAC members got involved in any way. Mr. Morrison himself got involved, and of course, there wasn't a good solid trail of facts, so this really negatively impacted us, and we just wanted to make sure going forward that, one, after you had a chance to review everything we've documented, that there's procedures in place that this does not happen to another resident, and that, what
Okay.
else would you want to say?
Excuse me, I think you've received our memos, is that correct? I think maybe we should listen to you. We've already told you what we've experienced. We went through this, we looked at it very carefully, and that's not all, but that's enough. So I think it's the obligation here of the Board of Supervisors to let us know what their feelings are and what changes, okay? Now, I will say one thing about the changes. This would have not have happened if it would have been some managing, some structural organization. You don't have an EAC guy tell your ordinance guy he doesn't like it. And we're going to go before the board and see if he can't call the DEP on it, especially when he doesn't know what he's talking about. Mr. Morrison let it happen. I presume my facts are right. Now, you don't have a board member on his own without going through the people responsible for the ordinances deciding he's going to go call the DEP on our property. After I talked to the DEP, they have no interest, whether it's wetlands or not, on the fencing, which was Mr. Morrison's intent. I have it on the tape, on the debate. The thing that, it's just really was like, why? What do we do? Okay? I've got things that with Mr. Morrison trying to find a way, can we make this more serious? He's writing to the attorney. Is there any way we ought to take a look at this? What township will allow the supervisor to write the attorney to try and make some regulations more difficult or to come down on us? All you have to do is talk to us. Whether it's right or wrong, whether there's no violation, you say it works for the township, we would do that. Okay? Now, when I said that, I'm still mad as hell when I look at it. It's ridiculous. You have your, let me just give you an example of how bad the EAC was. Mary Lou Gregory, I wrote her an email. She carbon copied you. In the emails, she was so upset with your people, with the township, and Mr. Morrison, she wanted to call the DEP in to cover herself if the township's not going to do it. She wanted to call the DEP. There are memos that I looked at where we're doing it again, we're doing it again. You know what? I sent that lady an email and asked her why she was so vindictive. She didn't know who I was. Does she have dementia? Is there an issue with her integrity? When I talked to Mr. Morrison, what he said and what I found are not the same. You were smiling, but I'm sorry,
I'm not smiling.
you know? I called the DEP. Mary Bird said it wasn't a good idea. Don't call them. I did. If we have a problem, we'll face it. No issues. They don't care about the fencing. It's not an issue.
They verified what I made a note about, which you got in a FOIA request or freedom of information.
We got it, but there was no reason to even go there. Okay, there was no reason for it.
I would call your attention to, again, I'm gonna interrupt you here.
Go ahead.
I would call your attention to the fact that as far as I understand, nothing has been initiated from this township relative to you in almost a year, maybe over a year, but roughly a year.
And I think we have something to do with that.
I think the
No,
fact that.
I don't think, excuse me.
Well, okay.
I don't think you're gonna walk with us.
Regardless, nothing's
All right.
happened, okay?
We're not, we're more upset because, I mean, we wanna move forward with this. I don't want to let this overshadow. I think this township can be a great township, and I wanna emphasize that, okay? I really wanna emphasize that. And I want us to leave tonight to feel like, okay, yes, something happened that it shouldn't have happened, okay? Somebody got out of control, there was bad information, not factual, and John and I spent a lot of time sifting through documentation, emails, you know, let's get them, let's cause them pain, really nasty emails, which we've summarized for your enjoyment, okay? I want to leave here tonight just to make sure that, again, we have some procedures in place to make sure this misunderstanding doesn't negatively impact another resident, because we're not enforcing environmental issues. I think it's good that we all work to have environmental knowledge. Believe me, I do. I'm on a lot of different committees myself and volunteer positions where I'm very environmentally conscious, and I'm not going to elaborate that, I'm just going to say that. But I want to make sure that we don't get off the track of let's protect the environment and get away from that and say, okay, let's get them. Let's make this a control enforcement because we want to show them something. That doesn't make anything work, and I think in this particular instance, that's what we've experienced. Unfortunately, that's what we've experienced, and we just want to, again, go forward and say, okay, let's look at how this happened. There was an easy solution. All somebody had to do was ask us. They didn't have to come on our property without our knowledge, bring DEP, let's get them, let's get Google Maps, all this other stuff. There was an easy solution to the problem, and we could have talked about it and got it resolved. We didn't take that approach. So again, going forward, I just want to make sure, again, if something like this happens, hearsay, whatever, please take the time, investigate it, look at the documentation, ask the questions. Don't put someone through this, okay?
Before you get into a,
Excuse
Citation
me.
for nothing.
I want to have one question. Where is Mr. Kuntz? Is he here tonight?
who?
What's his name? Is it?
No, he's not
here?
present.
Couldn't make it?
No.
I have no idea.
This is interesting. In that letter, he's trying to, I believe, have a fraudulent report presented to the Board of Supervisors. He knew, and I can see in the documentation, there were no wetlands. He knew it. There were also two reports, April 10th and April 17th, that he had in his possession. There's a memo that he has.
John, they have all that information.
No, they don't have all of it. Mr. Kuntz knew there was no wetlands. He came up here and tried to say because there was stone cabbage there was. Oh, now here's my problem, hold on. This is a guy who we see is not very honest. Now I have a second question, okay, and then I'll shut up and can talk to the world. You had somebody come here in front of you that lied about what was going on our property. The only way that lady could have came here is through the input of somebody from the township. You see, we were only scheduled for the agenda on April 29th. The hearing was May 1st. How did she know to come up? And nobody will answer where she came from. Now she's on the your video, but who is this person? If I go back and find out that Jim Morrison brought her, maybe he wouldn't be sitting there. If I prove it's Steve Kuntz, maybe he wouldn't be on the EAC. I'm going to ask the council to tell us where this person came from.
Do we have, I was Monday was a snow day,
Yeah.
and we have a steep driveway on the mountain, so I read all this.
Okay.
And
That's nice.
I was not aware of a lot of this,
Okay.
even as a supervisor.
Okay.
Some things do not or did not percolate up to us,
Okay.
okay? And I will say, and I respect John Gregory, who was sitting here, that Mrs. Gregory was not reappointed to the EAC last year. Nothing to do with your situation, but there were other issues, not subjective personality issues, but objective substantive issues with which some of us had some reservations and disagreements.
Right.
So I want to make that clear. And
That's not the issue.
I want you to understand
Right, that's
that
okay.
all of us are objective in our approach to how we understand what's going on. And I respect all the trouble that you've gone through to make all of us aware of it.
Thank you.
All right, Now,
We
Barbara,
appreciate that.
I want to know who brought that witness here.
I have no idea.
Do you know who brought it?
I know.
I don't even know who it
anything
is.
I really don't.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm crossing the line by asking this question?
Is it
No,
in the
you have a
minutes,
perfect right to
Madeline?
ask the question.
Do I have a right to free license?
Oh, she didn't.
She didn't
Can I
identify.
jump in here for a second?
Hang on.
Yeah, Mr. Heck,
Yeah.
we understand you have a lawyer, and there have been
I do
some...
not have a lawyer.
You had one at one time.
No, I did not.
All right. If you get a lawyer, there's a possibility of a claim being brought against the township. My general instruction is at that point that these meetings are not discovery sessions where we trade information. I normally tell my client that if there's a reasonable threat of litigation, that we just don't discuss things in public. So I think we've given you some answers, but this is not an interrogation session,
All
okay?
right, Mr.
Although I have some
Brennan-
questions for you,
Mr.
by the way.
Brennan, why don't you draw up the agreement, and I'll sign it.
Agreement
I
to
have-
do what?
No suit. We don't want to sue. If I
All right.
sued, I would give the money to charity. I don't
Okay.
need the money.
I mean,
That's not an issue.
Speaking, I have some questions for you, if I may. Did you make a telephone call to the employer of an EAC member?
Yeah, I did yesterday, yes.
And why did you do that?
Because I wanted to speak to make sure that the company was not behind it. I have a right to do that.
Hey, but just, let me finish. That his company was not behind what?
I'm sorry, I'll have my lawyer talk to you if that's what you
All
want.
right, well, did you leave a message on it?
I asked him to call me back. I said that there was some harassment that we received from members of the EAC. I'd like him to take a look at it and draw his own conclusions.
What did the employer have to do with this?
They
It came in
sent the
stationery.
emails to us on their work emails, so they were actually sending them from their work emails, therefore involving the company.
So was the purpose of your call to get this person fired from his job?
No.
What did you say on the tape about this person?
Why don't you tell me what you think I said? I said that I called up, I have an employer, I have a company, and I wouldn't care was that or your law firm. Okay, when somebody comes in stationery and they have something, they're saying, you did this is the company, he's running on the company's stationery. Okay? I have a right to know if the employer's involved.
So you called the employer, did you make comments about this person's
There's nothing
ethics?
wrong with what I did, Mr. Brennan, and any attorney should tell you that's in line.
Do you realize there's a tape of this conversation?
Fine, I don't care.
Thank you, that's all I have to ask.
That's all. Are you gonna tell us who the person was, or you think this is a legal issue that you can't?
Well, I don't know who it was, and I would instruct my board, based on the threats that you've
There
made
was no threats.
to a member
Who's
of the
threats?
commission. Well, you called his employer and made comments.
I'm allowed to do that.
Well, you were allowed to do it, but there are consequences.
What do you have a problem with? What did I say that you have such a problem?
I don't have a problem, I don't represent him, I'm just asking what you did and why you did it.
I called him because I wanted to speak to the president. I don't want this, you're sending it from an engineering company, sending something to this township, telling them I'm doing this. Okay? I have a problem with that. Okay? If you get something from the White House and it says something, you don't like it, you think you just ignore the letter? You're playing attorney, you're supposed to represent the township and the board of supervisors.
I know who I represent, Mr. Heck, and
Board
since
of
you,
Supervisors
since you
have-
have threatened the township and one of its board members by your conduct, I instruct my board, should be no comment further in public about this matter. If you wish to submit any further documentation to the township, you're free to do so.
Okay, I guess that's, okay.
Just,
You ever hear that, okay.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I think he's just, again, let me kind of
I'm sorry, I have a
intervene here
prejudice
because I
against
think he's a
attorneys.
bit upset, he's been through a lot. We just find it, I guess, unusual, for lack of a better word, that there was a witness, a person who came up and testified against us and said, accused us of doing environmental, accused us of doing something environmentally inappropriate. And when we went back to the township that allowed her to testify against us here at one of these meetings, no one at the township was able to provide at least even a name or any identification of this purpose, so I guess John was.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I remember when you guys were here before us.
Right.
Yes.
Are you talking about that woman that
Yes.
was here in her baseball cap?
Yes, in
Okay.
turn-
I have no idea who she is, who she
I don't
was.
think any of us do.
I don't think any of us
None of
knew who
us
she
do.
was. I
That's the
remember her,
problem.
and I remember her on the tape, but I don't know who she is. I don't even know if she is a resident of the township.
That's right, but she testified as a neighbor.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
You know,
it was
your
wrong
attorney
not
was-
to have demanded her name.
You know, you're asking us if we knew who she was, and I'm telling you, I have no clue who she is, and I'm assuming that no
Same
one else
here.
here does either.
Yeah, that's,
All right.
I mean,
All right, so your attorney wants to step in and he's gonna pull out somebody which he thinks is illegal, and he's not gonna give, and that's gonna be your position, right? That's right.
You raised a question, and I think I can say this in all justice. Do we understand your problem? Yes, we do. Were there a few errors made? Probably there were. Have I talked to the EAC chairman? Yes, I have, to ensure that we judiciously look at things and of how we do it and what we do, but I'm not going to curtail what the EAC responsibilities are, just like you say. They still have their responsibilities of what their requirements are to this BOS. But other than that, I'll opt on that, sure.
Well, let me make a comment here. I think that, by the way, getting the DEP guy in was, I sort of jumped the gun in the sense that when I talked to one of the supervisors that I had a contact with at DEP, it turned out that one of their field guys was roaming around the immediate area. So, I took advantage of that and I was hoping that you all were home, and we tried to knock on the door and so forth, but you weren't.
Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, just let me, you've been going on, let me finish. So anyway, so he made an appearance, I was with him. And then he had some initial reactions, but then he thought it over, and I think we had a discussion on the phone. In fact, I know we did, at least a couple of discussions. And the last one I had, I made some really specific notes about, handwritten, which you got in your request, okay? And the upshot was that the DEP guy really could not support the accusations that the EAC was making. And instead, he went down a slightly different path and said that maybe if he had an issue, it was with, quote, manure management. Well, you know that I know that you all were paying attention to that, okay? And he didn't see anything there, okay? But what he was looking for was some kind of procedure. Anyway, so that's where we left it, and he said he was going to get back to me with an email formalizing this. That was a year ago. No email, all right, nothing, no phone call, and neither did Mary or anybody in the township, to my
We have
knowledge.
not received a thing from
Yeah.
DEP.
So you knew that agent, Chris, you knew him personally before he came to the house?
No, I did not.
But he's the one that came, it wasn't your other friend, so you just told me that he was in the area? If you didn't know him, how did he come?
No. There's a DEP manager that we have interacted with on another matter. In fact, he wasn't even this guy's manager. So it was not a collusion. It was nothing like that. It's just this, the connection was just made with this guy.
I wanted to,
can I just say something?
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
When Jim came on our property with Chris, and he called me up and called me after he was already on our property. Again, we didn't know this, and I know maybe he attempted or whatever, but he still went on our property. There's no trespassing signs, fine. When John asked him, because he called me and told me I was gonna have to move my fencing, and it was the beginning of tax season, this fencing was done years before, when Rhonda Jones was here, okay?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay, so I was a little upset. I'm going into tax season, he calls me up, says he was on my property with a DEP guy, and now I might be potentially having to move my fencing. And then he says, by the way, after he accepts me, and I'm a little upset, he says, by the way, do you wanna volunteer your time on our EAC committee? And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I missing here? He's gonna cite me or something, and then he's
Yeah.
asking me if I wanna be part of the EAC. But when
You
he
should
asked
take
me-
it as a compliment.
I was really floored, because, I mean, this is the first time somebody says they're out to, kind of get me, and then all of a sudden they say, well, come on, join our EAC committee. So it was kind of a little bit of a wry sense of humor. But when we did ask Mr. Morrison what caused him to come out to our property, he said that he was acting on information from Mary Lou Gregory, which we just found out.
The name is
And we had
Marlo.
found out that she was no longer even with the township. So we found that was a little peculiar, that here he is going out and acting on something where someone's no longer even with the township. So I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, there is a lot of confusion going on here, and I think, as you can tell from John, we're really upset about what we've been through with everything, the misunderstandings, and we've just been so targeted, and we're just at the point where we just want to make sure that this doesn't happen to somebody else, because a
Thank
lot of
you.
it has been misunderstandings. That's how I want to leave
And
it.
what I wanted to share with you, again, you presented information and you went to a lot of effort
Yes,
to bring this to our attention, okay?
yes.
When that all took place, I was visiting family place in Ukraine when it was still one place,
Okay.
okay? So the point that I'm trying to make is this: we can all learn from your unfortunate experience and go forward in a different manner so that your individual property rights are not violated. On the other hand, if there are legitimate concerns, whatever the situation, be it somebody not taking care of an historic home or some such thing, we have a responsibility with regard to our ordinances, and I think it should be noted for the public's sake as well, that all of our EAC members serve as volunteers. They are not paid. So we have to respect the fact that they are giving of their time and volunteering. Some are better than others at it. Let's leave it that
Okay,
way.
thank you, I appreciate it,
There's
thank
a,
you so much.
there's a difference between a volunteer and somebody who wants to improve things, rather than those looking for merit badges. And we'll leave here, Mr. Brennan, you don't have anybody here from the EAC, okay?
No.
And Mr. Brennan is trying to say, okay, I threatened somebody in a lawsuit. That's the way you want to play? That's what it is. I mean, this is not the most important thing in our life. With a college student and a clique, I can hit 20,000 people. And I can use this as an example and a learning process for everybody. For what we've done, the township, your attorney, we can put this all together. If you have controls, did you ever hear of Sarbanes Act? Yeah, thank you, Sarbanes Act. You know anything about it?
Come on, John. They
All
have to
right, let's
get
go.
on.
Sorry.
All right,
The worst.
the issue's done. We'll move on, under resolutions and, no, motion to approve the consultant to conduct a sidewalk feasibility study, and that would be, go over to Jim and to Mary.
Hold on a second here. All right. 2 days ago, I sent everybody a memo on this subject. And I'm sorry I forgot to date it. It was February 2nd when I handwrite a date on it. We were successful, as you know, in getting a grant from.
You can go to blue if you want. Yeah. 'Cause all you have to do is just press this. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We were successful, as you know, getting a grant from DVRPC to do a feasibility study for a sidewalk, essentially along Route 23 with some feeder streets, particularly down near Cleona Avenue. And so one of the requirements of the grant is that we had, in order to have a consulting engineer do the feasibility study, it had to be a competitive selection process. All right, so we drafted an RFP. It went out in December. We got a couple of dozen, we sent it out to a couple of dozen engineering companies. And of the couple of dozen or so, we got 7 responses, written responses, proposal. Mary and I analyzed the proposals and thought that 4 of the 7 were worth talking to. So we had meetings with 4 of them. And we finally came down to a decision on one of them, who seemed to be the best qualified from a variety of different standpoints. And the company is Whitman, Reckard, and Associates. And this particular group is based out of Wilmington. They're actually a large company. They're about 700 people. So anyway, we think they'd be a great fit for this project. And so I'm basically requesting that the board approve them as the engineering consultant for the sidewalk feasibility study.
And theirs was, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Theirs was within the budget of the grant
Oh, yeah.
application.
And in fact, gives us, as Mary says, some wiggle room relative to our match.
That's good. Well, and so you all know, I gave Jim a call after reading his memo, because when we did the foundry building, there were some problems with one of the folks who were trying out to do this. And I have a lot of respect for Simone Collins. It used to be Simone Collins Jaffe. They did Renaissance Park in Phoenixville, but you said that they were priced higher. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, and Traffic Planning and Design is a local firm that is very, very respected for the work that they've done for 22 in a lot of different places. But again, if they're out of the ballpark in terms of price, then we've got to give it to those who are most qualified and within the budget.
Have we ever worked with this company before, Mary?
No.
Did they send a price in?
What's that?
Have they sent a price in?
Yes.
Have you looked at pricing and everything?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's in the proposal.
That's what I thought, but the
And-
way I read these, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and I went further and checked their references. They're excellent references.
Okay.
Paoli and Route 29.
Okay, fine.
You know, and the same people that were doing those projects are going to be, the manager said it will be assigned to this project.
Well, the only thing I would do is, I would change the motion around to read that to approve the Whitman, Reinhardt and Associates LLP as our engineering consultant to conduct a sidewalk feasibility study. Do I hear that motion?
Yeah,
Do I-
I'll make the motion just with a
And
slight.
stated by
I made that motion.
Oh, okay, I'll second that.
Okay.
All right.
Any-
Just a discussion, the second name is
Okay.
Requart, it's REQUARDT, and Associates.
Any all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The next item is a resolution, a motion to adopt ordinance 2015-01, authorizing the participation of Schuylkill Township in the PSAT's Unemployment Compensation Group Trust pursuant to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Corporation Law. Mary, do you have something to say on this?
No, other than, we're required to do this to keep up with our unemployment compensation and having PSATs be our unemployment comp trust folks. So they've done very well for us, we get dividends out of it, and they're requiring every municipality that is with them to pass this ordinance.
Other than passing the ordinance, is there anything else that we need to do? Or is this,
Absolutely
good.
nothing, absolutely nothing.
because it
And
looks
it's
a
really
bit,
just to update for them,
okay.
to make sure that all the municipalities are on the same page with all of this.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Subdivision land development, there's no agenda items. The 2-minute reports, Jim has already talked on the noise ordinance and what we're doing to work on it. Is there any additional business?
No, sir.
Then I'll move into public participation for anything that's not on the agenda. Call anybody to come up and talk at the podium. Is there anyone?
Good evening, John Moraz of Meadowbrook Lane. Last night, a few of us attended the Grounds and Buildings Committee at the school board. 2 issues came up that I'd like to bring up to the township here. One's a question and one's a comment. The one question is, they're doing some remediation studies over the school district on that plot of land. And one of the comments, they said that they were going to be taking part of the remediation, which is the building, and taking that out of the plan right now and do it at a later time period. Is that permitted under the township rules?
Which building were they?
Well, I believe it's where the oil is under the historical building. The barn.
The barn?
Yes.
Wow.
And I think they mentioned again, nobody else is here, there's a couple of us there. And you probably haven't heard anything because it's not public knowledge yet, but we were there. And they said they had 14, I think, bidders for the project. And they said that the money or the bidding was a little bit more difficult than what they anticipated. So they're trying to break out certain pieces of this. We know they're going to do the remediation on the greens, guaranteed. But they found it was more difficult for the building. So is that
Why? Did they
proper?
say why?
Yes, they did.
Ju-
They
ju-
couldn't, they had to dig down so far to get the oil out that it made the structure
Unstable.
Yeah.
And
It's-
so it was gonna
Things
cost
did
so
come up.
much that they weren't gonna do anything.
Is this at the historical building?
It's the barn.
Yes.
It's the barn.
The barn?
We talked about that a couple months ago with the
Yeah.
Historic Commission,
But
trying
The
to,
barn itself, even before they started doing the digging, from what I understand, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me right, at one of the Historic Commission meetings, they had said that the structure of the building itself is
Yeah, they did.
Questionable.
not, is that's a very good word, Barbara, it's questionable to begin with. So digging toward the foundation, that's pretty scary.
I don't know, but underneath, they said where I guess tractor oil or whatever has seeped into the ground, and apparently it went deep. And so they would have to somehow shore up that building. And it was gonna be very expensive, so they've taken that cost out
possibly, right now.
of their projections, I guess. And I'm just wondering,
Could that be done based upon the site development? Now, I know this is all preliminary plans, and I know they still have a lot of work to do, but if that's the case, are they permitted to do that?
Well, it's an existing
We're
building
not
on the lot,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
right.
So, I mean, and it's a historical building. I don't know if,
Let me answer if I can.
Please.
When a plan is approved, that's the authorization to develop what's on the plan. There's no obligation of a property owner to develop each item on the plan once approval is granted. However, if a certain item requires, if there's a building and it requires a roadway, then they wouldn't get a building permit for that building unless there's a roadway that connects it to a public road. So to answer your question, I don't know the details, but if they decide to build other things and hold off on that piece, my general impression would be that they wouldn't have to do it right away. But we're not in the middle of this, don't know anything about it, and these questions are more appropriately directed to the school district. So to summarize, they can generally build, they can build it in whatever time frame they want, they can build in whatever order they want. They're permitted only to build what the plan shows, and they can't build pieces that aren't connected to public roads and such. So the answer to your question is they could probably do it, but I'm not sure.
Well, I just want to let you know that they're talking about this, that based upon the costs and so forth, that the historical building, or whatever it will be, may be taken out of the development per se for the remediation. The other issue that they brought up, again, we could not get answers to this.
Excuse me for 1 minute. Was this at the Building and Grounds Committee
Yes,
meeting?
it was.
Okay.
Okay. They also discussed groundwater, or stormwater, we said. And we all know that site has a lot of stormwater. They came back and said there was more issues than they had anticipated. Okay? And this is based upon Township Engineer, Chester County Conservation. They would not tell us what those situations are because the plan hasn't been formalized and hasn't been presented. We will have time to look at that, and this goes back to our engineer that we had hired privately at one of the meetings, and he discussed the stormwater management. And everybody said, forget about it, because we have our own engineers. Well, now we find out that based upon what the school said last night, which they would not give specifics on, they would not tell us anything. Now, when we left, the public was there, we left, they had their executive session. Now, I don't know what was discussed in the executive session. Their engineers were there, their architects was there, and I know this is not a concern for you, but once again, when we're talking about good neighbors, we're not permitted at times to hear everything. And I'm sorry to say this, but we've been at many meetings, and you've said this before, they want to give us every right to speak up. We spoke up. I'm not sure if Pete will speak tonight. He had many questions about the traffic input. We asked about the additional traffic light there. We hear different stories from who's allowing that, who wants it, who doesn't want it. Somehow we're not getting any of the correct answers. We have an issue about our lane. We're not getting anything formally from the lane. I believe Donna was here today to talk, to discuss our situation. We're waiting for something back from the school with ownership responsibilities. So we still have a lot of issues here. And we're not getting any answers. When we ask the questions, they're not telling us anything.
Perhaps,
And I know the school's not here tonight, so they can't answer anything.
well, and I can only say that if something is a work in progress and they are learning factual information, I think my idea would be that they need to have a more finalized understanding of the facts as they are literally on the ground, forgive the pun. But, so, I wouldn't necessarily be angry with regard to not getting answers at this time. If I don't have a specific answer to give you, because I don't know that specific answer myself, then I think patience is a virtue in that kind of situation.
Well, I hear
But I'm
that.
glad you brought this to our attention.
Well, I understand that, but if they have issues from the engineers, from the township engineers, soil conservation from Chester County, we didn't know about that. We asked that question, well, what are the issues? Well, you'll hear about it when it's formally. Well, you're here, we're asking the questions, and they're not answering it.
Okay,
If
but
they're
if that's a
saying that-
committee, if that's a committee meeting, there is a formal process of bringing information to a committee, like we get reports from our commissions and here, and then we attend their meetings, we listen and understand the facts that are being presented to us. I think you have to give them a chance for the committees to percolate to the next school board meeting.
Well, if you ever attended the school board meeting itself, you have a workshop meeting at the school where most of the information is done. And then you have your monthly meeting. I'm not sure, has anyone attended the
I
monthly school
have
board
been
meetings?
to many building
I
and
think you-
grounds meetings
okay.
and school board meetings in the process of trying to save the Schuylkill Elementary School
Okay.
over
And,
2 years.
and at the formal school board meeting, nothing is discussed. Everything is rubber stamped because everything's done in committees at the workshop meetings. And we've asked the same questions at those specific times, and we still don't get the answers. That's
Who's
all I
the
have to
chair
say.
of the Building and Grounds Committee, do you know?
That's,
Pattinson?
Who?
Kevin
Kevin
Patterson.
Pattinson.
Let me respond to what you led off with, which is the stormwater. You may or may not know that every municipality in Chester County now has to adhere to a common stormwater management ordinance, which is pretty strict. And that means that Phoenixville and Schuylkill, they have the same ordinance, okay? And any stormwater calculations ultimately have to comply with the regulations of that ordinance. So I would venture to say they're trying to come to grips with that. They found out some information that they didn't know was there, it was unexpected, whatever. So there, you know, it may very well be they have to change the structure of some of their stormwater facilities in order to handle whatever the problem is. But they've got to comply with the ordinance.
Right.
I would have to say that I'm sort of surprised having, I hate to fall back, but I was chairman of the board of the Building and Grounds Committee for over 5 years. And they should have listened to you and given you some type of answers, even if they put it off a little bit, but they saying, well, we don't understand, we have to check more, blah, blah, giving you some substance. And they
Well,
didn't do it. I'm sort of surprised, but I'm not
I
part
know
of it.
you're not there now, and I agree with you. You know, I had a question to them. I know this is not a sounding board for the school district because they're not here to argue it or dispute that. But there's an Act 34 hearing coming up, which we as taxpayers here should all attend to find out about the entire school. An $80 million project. Now, I know you made announcements today. There's no announcement here, per se, for this Act 34 hearing. I know it's another public concern here, but an Act 34 hearing for us taxpayers is February
19.
19th. And I would think everyone here who are taxpayers should attend that meeting to hear about the school. We've seen videos of it, presentations here, but these are the comments we should be making to the school district.
I'm glad you've come here, but I think you also got to attend their actual meeting, too.
Oh, we do. We
Okay.
do. And I'm saying, we're not getting the answers.
Interesting.
Do
And
they
that's
have a, forgive me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted
Okay.
to ask a question. Does the board at the school, have they appointed a liaison to the homeowners associations?
No,
They haven't?
no, no.
There is
none
not
whatsoever.
a specific person
No.
who's in charge of
No.
communicating with you?
Dr. Fegley showed up with Donna today. We had a meeting for our lane situation 6 months ago after the presentation was here concerning the landscaping on Meadowbrook Lane. We haven't seen presentations yet. We've asked again for a determination on our private lane situation because it's a very difficult issue. Haven't gotten a formal, notification from them yet.
Really?
They really don't know where their property lines are.
Really?
How do you build when you really don't have?
Even
access?
after all the court battles and everything? That's
Well, our
They
surprising.
drew a line down the middle of the lane, they said, give or take.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know it goes by deed. And we've been trying to get answers for this, because I still think, once the entire project is supposed to be approved, this should be cleaned up. It shouldn't be taken by saying, the homeowners own 50% or 51%, 40% or whatever it is. Again, we've brought this up various times at the school board, and we're not getting the answers. I know everyone says, they're not like a developer, they're here to stay. Well, we're here as taxpayers. And the $80 million project may grow. And I think everyone here, you pay real estate taxes, Barbara, you pay real estate, Mary, everybody pays real estate taxes here.
Yeah.
So we should be concerned about what they're doing there
Usually at the
and,
high school.
talking to us.
I agree that there, might I suggest,
They
and
may
I
change to the
know
high
you've
school or
written
to the
a
middle
lot of
school.
stuff
I don't think so.
already that we've all read,
No.
but if you
I
just
think it's
do
changed the administration building.
a memo, bullet point, brief things.
I think they have a
to
big council room in there.
us, asking, or copy us to Dr. Fagley. And it's.
I will
we're-
check
we're
into
not
it. I'm the
supposed to-
liaison from here to the,
I know what Dr. Flake is going
Fred,
to
I
say.
was gonna say was, it would be helpful
see you, John.
if there is a dialogue that is established with a particular liaison to you from the school district. Therefore, there's a level of communication beyond your being part of the audience at a public meeting.
Well,
Had one, Barbara, where we met with Dr. Fagley and Mr. Johnson.
and Josh
And
Gould.
Josh Gould.
Right.
Because
We
they've
had
been
one
very
meeting.
forthcoming, and I thought, in lots of ways.
We've had one meeting, and we discussed, the composition of the fencing. They were gonna have pictures for us to see what we'd like. They were gonna have the landscaper provide us with what kind of conifer
Isn't that cute?
And, we haven't heard anything back.
Just on the property line issue alone, that's all my communication, just a synopsis. Starting September 15th. I didn't put today's on here yet. I will.
The problem with the lane.
Gonna write a
is
book at the end, right?
Some people own to the other side of the lane, some people own to the middle of the lane
Some
on their
of
Time here,
deed,
okay.
some own to the edge of the property line, it's a mix.
Let's summarize it.
Well, if I could just make a comment on that, it's my understanding, and unfortunately, John Sartor is not here, but I know, for example, in the case of the Reeves property as an example, Mr. Polligan and Company has had to survey that property down to the half a foot, okay? And that's on the preliminary plan. So I don't know whether that's on the school district's preliminary plan, but I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So that survey should show the western boundary relative to Meadowbrook Lane, and document the weaving or whatever is happening, because I can imagine that the lane itself is not straight with the property line.
So they just wanna call it the middle of the lane, when some homeowners own the entire lane.
Exactly.
Well, I just want to let you know that there's still issues, okay? And I know this is not it hasn't been formalized or agreed upon, it's preliminary plans, they have to come back. But I just want to let the board know that, yes, they've said that there's been 51 meetings from day one. Now, we may have attended 20 of those meetings, and we've voiced our concerns. And our biggest concerns, I'll mention it to you right now, we're not against the school,
Yeah, I know that.
okay? We're just like
Understand that.
to do the mega campus.
Okay, that, in summarization,
keeping us
excuse me, please. In summarization, the things that you had brought up were the oil under the historical building, the underground portion of it was a stormwater management problem. There are many issues that you feel that need to be rectified yet. And you're worried about some boundary questions, and you're not getting any of the answers that you feel that you should, to at least answer or solve some of your questions and such. Is that correct?
In a timely fashion.
Okay.
If they say they're gonna get back to you. in-
All right, well, I'll talk to Mr. Patterson and see what we
Mr.
Okay.
Quigg has a
Thank you very
comment.
much. Okay.
Hi, Peter Mercury,
Morris
President
had his
Pickering
hand up
Glen
first.
Homeowners
Excuse me?
Stand
Association.
up on the prior
Morris
issue.
had his
Just hang on
hand
a
up
second.
first. Morris Quigg.
Fred, this is a question actually for Mary. Mary, can we request for the school board to come out, or not school board, but the school district to attend the next planning commission meeting?
Planning Commission is done with the school district's project. We've recommended approval of the plan based on our zoning and our subdivision ordinances. The Planning Commission, I don't think, is the correct venue to try and help these folks out with the school district. That's not what the Planning Commission is here for. We're here to review the plans.
They'll look at the final, Morris, but there's no step right now for the planning commission to act in between the two plans.
However, I don't agree with you two on this, to this fact. If the planning commission advises the Board of Supervisors, if they have questions and questions about it, they should be free to go out to any party at all to learn what substance or what is part of this on their own volition. So for Mr. Quigg to ask you to have the planning commission have the BOS, have the Board of Education, or somebody from the district there, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I agree with you, Fred.
Oh, the
I'm
district
sorry.
may not- Okay, the district may not want to come. They will have to come before the planning commission again for the final plan. All I'm saying is, I don't think the planning commission is the correct venue to broker a conversation between homeowners and school districts.
Oh, I see.
The
Okay.
MPC,
Mary, we know that, Mary, we were just letting you know what some of our issues are.
Right.
We
Oh,
don't
no,
expect the
understood.
board to do that.
Okay.
Excuse me,
But if there are property line issues, if they are real, then where do they get solved? Or where does it go to?
Well,
We're on
they-
our own.
well, they would go, if the neighbors think that there's an incorrect property line, the neighbors can go into court and stop the development. Or they can, make arrangements in court to do that, but I'm presuming the school district has an Alta survey, which we dealt with in the Reeves case. And they're, well, all right, they may or may not, but they can go ahead and move ahead and say, this is our survey, and this is what we think is right. If the neighbors oppose it, they can contest it. Yeah. So,
Okay.
now, but we don't get involved in that decision. If they present us with an Alta survey that demonstrates where the lines are, we accept that. Now, if the neighbors say that's wrong, then, we'll deal with it, but I think it's a court question, not a question for us to decide.
To go back, I'm sorry to repeat what John said earlier, there are apparently new stormwater issues that were not on the original plan.
Well, whatever
So
the-
does that, my question is, does that not have to go back to planning commission before the final
Before the
review?
final, they have to demonstrate compliance with the stormwater ordinance.
So they
And-
will be coming back to planning commission before the final?
That should be go through the EAC and then to the planning commission,
Before you come to
Yeah.
because EAC handles stormwater management.
No, they don't, well, they do that for the final. They don't do that.
But doesn't it have to demonstrate in the final plans that they've solved those issues?
They can, if there are issues with the stormwater, which is news to me, so unless the Chester County Planning Commission
Sit down.
has said that there's problems with it, the school district needs to address whatever that may be. When the school district addresses it and comes up with a plan or tweaks the plan, then Gilmore and Associates will review it. We will get a review letter from Gilmore and Associates. It does not need to go back to the planning commission.
Thanks, Mary.
So in other words, it sounds like they don't have their answers yet, or they don't have.
I'm wondering if
Yeah.
the county conservation district weighed in, and those are the
Yeah.
open issues for them.
It sounds
That's
that
what I'm
way.
thinking too, that they don't have all their ducks in a row. So they probably didn't give you an answer because
They don't have
they
it.
don't have an answer.
Okay, Mr. McCreary?
And just expanding on the issues, last board meeting, I brought to you issues that we have at Pickering Glen, and they were not even acknowledged. They were not acknowledged by the Planning Commission, and they still have not been acknowledged by the school district. Okay, so I'm just baffled by the way that we as taxpayers are being treated. And even last night, one of our primary concerns is the traffic. Last night, there were more questions pertaining to the traffic study that they had done. The expert was there again. And, really, it's just amazing how it just keeps steamrolling. And they want to get this done as soon as possible. The best thing that could have happened was last week, maybe, to make them sit down and do something, but you already gave them the preliminary approval, so it's still rolling away. Now you hear these new issues. And just to let you know, there is an alternative route that could be put into the plan as far as where the light should go or could go. And again, it was found out. Oh, let me ask you a question. As far as the light at Trotters, who do you think suggested that light going there? Does anybody have any ideas?
No.
No?
I can only.
PennDOT? It was the school district and the superintendent. He's the one that suggested the light go there. Okay?
I think it probably came from the school district because.
I think Mr. Henney answered that question, didn't he, in his letter?
What letter are you speaking to?
Did they get a copy of that?
Actually, I just spoke to Mr. Haney this evening, okay? And it's not, the school district does not recommend where lights go, okay? It was the school district that actually recommended that light go there, right?
Yeah.
And,
Why is that not a good idea?
pardon me?
Why is that not a good idea?
We're not saying that it's a bad idea, but we're saying that there are other alternatives that could have been looked at and still can be looked at.
Well, then, you know what, Pete? Present them to the appropriate venue at the appropriate time.
We have.
Well, I was not aware of that until you brought it to us this evening. Thinking in terms of safety of children crossing, in terms of your getting out, seems to me like a common sense idea to put a light at Trotter's Lane, especially to have a decorative crosswalk for safety features. There are all kinds of things that come to mind that are positive. What I would advise you is this: try to look for the positive things and just don't dwell on the negative quite so much. Thank you.
It's really amazing, that, you know, actually, again, it's special interests, your own interests, when, you know, it's our community, okay? Our issues that you did not even look at. I gave them to Fred. 64 people signed that petition.
You have
Did
6
you look
issues.
at it?
You
We
had
all
6
looked
issues.
at it.
You all looked at
We
it?
all give you the respect
Okay.
of reading what you
All right.
give to us.
Let me ask you a question. I'm
It's
speaking.
finished. It's done now. Let's move on and think of things in
Okay.
a way that can be productive,
I'm,
instead of
look, we're the same as the people from Meadowbrook, okay? We don't mind the school going in, okay? You talk about communication. There is so much lack of communication between the school district and the neighborhood. Do you know that they had over 61 meetings starting in 2013? And do you know who they started with? They started with communities to look at how they can put 6 to 8 fields on that campus, okay? They didn't come to the neighbors, okay? And the first time I heard about these kids in the trailers, that's shameful that that lawyer brought that up. You know why? Because that's the first time I ever heard about kids in trailers, okay? And I'm sympathetic about kids, right? I'd like to have a great high school. That's, you know, that's, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. And you shouldn't be telling me how I feel,
I'm not.
okay? Yes, you are. Look, I'm speaking right now. Did you know that they have to take 4 feet from our island into the development?
They don't
Did you
have
know
to.
that? Did
They
you
don't.
know that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you know that at the last meeting? Did you know
No.
that at the last meeting?
Yes.
No. You
I
did?
I read it.
You didn't know at the last meeting, because we didn't even know at the last meeting.
I thought it was on the paper,
No.
Let me elaborate.
please.
All
And
right.
it's not a big deal.
It was not. And you know when they talked about it? October 30th. October 30th. Mr. Sartor had a letter suggesting that we had to take 4 feet from our island, okay? Because of safety. Because of
that
safety.
makes sense.
Okay. Well, why weren't you told? Why weren't we told?
In the review. It was in their review letter,
Yes,
a review letter that all the board received.
exactly.
Gilmore and Associates reviewed the work the McMahon was doing. In their review, they suggested that 4 feet of this island be taken for the safety for turning purposes. That review has gone to PennDOT along with McMahon's review. It is now up to PennDOT to say which one is correct or which one is the one to use. That's all it is.
Exactly.
It's a suggestion at this point, Pete. It's not set in stone.
But Mary, do you know where we found out? We found out through an attorney from the school district. Why shouldn't we find out from John Sartor? I sat here,
He's
I
our
come to the
engineer.
meetings.
John Sarto is here to review the plans for the township so the township can make an informed decision on the plans. He is not here to go out and talk to residents. He's a consultant to the board.
No, but when, you have our issues, right? And it's traffic, it's safety.
It's 6 issues.
You have the issues.
Yes, I do.
Okay? One of the issues is the traffic and safety surrounding that light, okay? So why couldn't he tell us that, okay, we have to take 4 feet because, you know, of the safety factor and trucks turning? Why?
But I didn't think that decision was made yet.
The decision is not made.
That's the
Okay.
point
Then
I've been
that's
trying
the-
to make.
That's
Martha.
why you have, nothing's been said.
It's not
The
supposed to be an
decision hasn't
argument.
Any other
made
points?
yet.
We got the point. Any other points you wish to make?
And see, that's the point, is that, you know, you're not giving us enough time to to let you know.
You've been,
Basically-
how long have you been speaking?
Okay.
What
All
else
right.
do you have to say?
Well, you have our issues, and
The six
obviously-
issues you mentioned, Mr. McCrory, are the intersection of Pot House Road and Trotters Lane, right? Community safety, landscaping, the walking trail, athletic fields, and stormwater management. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And you and your HOA people, Mr. Lemker and Sienna, and all of them have made comments to this, which I have read, which
Which we all have read,
and my
right?
colleagues do have copies of those. It's
And
good.
should we have a
Hang on,
liaison?
hang on for just a
Should we
minute.
have
It's
a
good for
liaison?
you to come and vent to us. However, to me, 70 or 80% of your issues are really applicable to the school district, not to us.
Exactly.
And that bothers me a little bit. Although because they don't pertain to us. Why should we? If the issues pertain to us, we will take issue with it. And whether you know it or not, which things are going on behind the scenes, we're trying to resolve with PennDOT and with people and traffic and different things like this, as it is applicable to our state roads within the township only. That's what we're looking at. And we're looking at the safety. We're looking at the things that you have brought up and you so vociferous in your comments about. We are looking at those things with separate committees, certain aspects, phone calls and such like that. When we feel that we have some good answers for you to make some justifications and that, or if we need to have you involved in it, then we will let you know, at least I will, one way or the other.
Pete, I have a question. You alluded to an alternative entrance, I believe. Can you get a little more specific as to what you're referring to?
They could, yes. It was suggested last night that there still be a light at Trotters.
Yeah.
Okay? But make it an exit, okay? And the entrance could be on 29, right next to where the buses go, so you have another entrance. And
I'd have to see a
it's
plan before
feasible.
I could
It's
comment.
feasible. But the problem is that, again, the school district has to basically, they're the ones that need to bring it up in front of PennDOT, okay? But all this time, they've been kind of dragging their feet. We asked for information. Matter of fact, I just gave a right to know 2 weeks ago, and they gave me a 30-day notice saying that they could not produce it, and I'd have to wait 30 days, okay? We didn't get the traffic study until October, okay? They had it back in August. We didn't get it till October. So you talk about non-communication. We've had meetings with them, just like the people of Meadowbrook, and nothing. They give us nothing in writing, okay? But yet they want us to sign an easement for an easement as of like yesterday, right? They want us just to automatically and sign it. But more importantly, what we're trying to say is that we're not getting anything from the school district. And now you have all of this other stuff coming out. Shouldn't you look at that a little bit more closely? I hope you do. I hope you really do.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
because
thank you.
First thing, just the last thing. I want you to understand that we are not against this at all, okay? We have been misled, and we have been kind of just, there's no communication, and we've come to you, okay? I came to you in August. You say, come to the meetings. I went to the planning committee meetings. I come to the board, school, the township meetings. We go to the school board meetings. We get nothing. We've gotten nothing. When are you going to help us? That's what we're asking for. We're asking for help.
We don't have the authority or the responsibility at this moment. I think Fred very clearly explained, as we did, this is a work in progress. Okay? When things come to us, then we will comment appropriately after we've studied the particular issues that are on the table. It's very straightforward.
You have them. You have
Thank you,
them.
Pete.
We've talked to the school district.
Please, don't
Now-
repeat yourself again.
Okay. Next.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
That's it, executive session.
Mr. Keller?
What?
I'm going to give you time to talk, don't worry. Just hang on for a minute, though.
Go ahead.
No, you stand up. I just want to make a comment to you. When you come from now on, and you come every month, and that's okay. However, I don't want to hear the same things over and over and over again. We already have heard of them. The township is either taking care of them, or they've gone down to commissions, or your liaison is Mr. Hanforth. And so, please, from now on, if you come to the meetings, have something new that you have a problem with, okay?
Well, if you would take care of the problems that I had before, I wouldn't have to come here with.
We've answered them.
No, you haven't answered
Oh,
them.
my.
Is there anything new?
Let me, I appreciate it if you bring the podium back next month, okay? I have trouble with balance, okay? And I need that podium. There's no reason why it's not here. It's just like it's a little bit uncomfortable for. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madeline.
That was very kind of you.
Thank you. I bring these issues to you because these are your ordinances and you are not enforcing them. 230-3, prohibited acts on any public or private property, which means the mobile home park too. The maintaining of any dangerous structure, including buildings in a state of disrepair or dilapidation. Those two buildings are on State Road. They're owned by the Pfeiffers.
So that was
Wait a minute.
230-3?
Yeah,
Okay,
prohibited acts.
okay, so prohibited acts, okay.
These buildings are still open. They are not secure. There's openings in them. We had a stray cat problem for years.
Okay.
We unloaded.
We've handled that
Wasn't
3
it ta-
months.
Wasn't that taken care of?
No, yeah, we did it, but the buildings are still not secure. There's, cats
all
can
right.
still get in there and breed, okay?
Okay, perfect. Okay, what else? Next one? I'll make sure we call Mr. Fifield.
Okay. Under 230-3C, storage and accumulation of trash. This is what we have in a mobile home park in an unoccupied home at 56 Hillside Road. In 1980, a judge made a decision that any occupied home in the illegal part of the park is to be moved out or torn down. He's still there.
Mr. Keller.
The guy is still storing trash. He does not occupy the house. He hasn't occupied the house for 2 years. I don't care. The judge said if it's unoccupied, it has to be moved. Okay, let's move on to G, okay?
Do we have a time limit on public participation?
We do.
Still 3, number G?
Yeah, okay.
Letter G.
Okay, G under 2303. Any use of land or structure or a structure which is unreasonable or unlawful, which may cause injury, damage, or substantial discomfort to the residents of this township. Those buildings that we're talking about, they're the buildings. They're the buildings.
Okay.
How can you let dilapidated buildings go unattended for years in this township? Tell me, I want to know.
About another minute. Is there anything new on
Okay,
that? Because
one
I already have all the codes that we have.
Okay, one more, 309B, it says,
309B.
no accumulation, dumping, or depositing of trash on any public or private property.
And that was the one
Well, okay.
behind that,
Let's
right?
go past that one.
Okay, let's jump
Let's
that.
go
one.
to, we'll go to the other ones.
Okay. How about we do two
C,
more, and
the
then we'll.
storage of garbage, rubbish, and refuse in the mobile home on 56 Road.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I think we're ready to move on, don't you, Kevin?
Yeah, Jim, how about you and, Mr. Keller, you and I,
What?
we meet again, and then we go through all that?
Yeah.
Because we've already.
Like Fred said, why do I come here? Because you don't do anything, that's why.
I bring it all up, and we talked to Mr. Pfeiffer,
And
we
he
talked
does
to
nothing.
Yerkes, and it's his property. And he can,
Didn't I just say in the beginning, private property?
and
Doesn't that mean, what's he have, a different class over there?
again, we can bring it up to him. If there's more new trash that's shown up, or the trash has not been removed, we'll bring it up to him.
Thank you again for sharing your thoughts.
3 months ago,
Understandable.
the guy's still throwing trash in the park.
Everyone needs to respect limits and timeframes. With all
Okay.
due respect,
Okay,
Mr.
let me
Keller,
talk about
we've given
this.
you a lot of time.
Oh, I had a guy up here a few months ago, he spent an hour, a half hour on the podium talking about a pool project. A half hour, a real big important issue like a pool project. And the guy was here for a half hour at the podium.
So,
Look, I'm gonna bring a little thing up about the, now that the school district has taken over the golf course. I want to read some of your articles, Protect and conserve the natural resources that are an integral component of the township's character in accordance with the following specific objectives of this township: open space, recreation, environmental resources, which includes streams.
Not making sense.
It talks about groundwater, aquifer, recharge areas, preserve woodlands and wildlife corridors along streams, preserve the scenic resources of the township. That's your, what you have written down.
okay.
Girl, why did you not fight to put an end to what the school district did?
I have
These
an
are
answer.
these things.
I have
These
an
are
answer.
these
I have an
things.
answer for you right there on that. The state has defined, and I think it's Act 167, but don't hold me to it, has defined open space to include, among other things, active recreation fields. All right? So your active recreation fields technically are still open space.
Okay, let me just, I got a couple more things and that's it. 370, 151, it says, promote the health, safety, and the welfare of the residents of this township. And we're all residents of this township. Even though we live in a mobile home park, we're residents of this township. There was a gentleman here a few meetings ago who talked about the township having no recreation. And here it is, right in your zoning, 370, 168. Open space use regulations. A, recreational uses including parks, playgrounds, playfields, and structures related hereto. Conservation uses to preserve woodlands, forests, streams, and the related landscape. These are all things that you have in your ordinances. You certainly weren't concerned about that. You made no effort to stop the.
Well, actually, Mr. Keller, we did, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we try to purchase that property via open space?
Yes.
Yeah, when was this?
There was.
This is before, it was before my time, so I really don't wanna, I don't wanna give any details because I don't know anything, but wasn't there an effort at one time to
No.
purchase that property
No,
for open space?
no,
No.
no.
Okay,
You wouldn't have the money anyway to do it. I mean,
okay.
They turned down $8 million.
Well, there you
The
go.
The owners, they turned down
That's right,
$8
there,
million.
there you have it. We can't, we didn't have the money for it. We couldn't,
I'm
we
not
couldn't go
blaming
for it.
you. I'm not blaming you.
But you just asked us why we
Well,
didn't
that's
do
right.
it.
Why didn't you fight it?
Why didn't we do it? Because we didn't have the money for it.
It's now 20 minutes.
Okay, one thing that goes under the code enforcement, under 2304. It gives the code enforcement officer, there's a process that you do. And he gets into the process and where he takes action against these people who are violating your ordinances. And there's fines and other things. When's that gonna happen? What do you have this gentleman for at Yerkes? What are you having for him? You're just wasting the taxpayers' money, that's all
That
you're
is
doing.
not
He's
true.
not enforcing these things. And it says right in there, he's supposed to enforce them, and he's not doing it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other public comments? Being no more public comments, I
Make a motion.
look to make motion for adjournment.
Executive session.
Executive session.
Second? Move.
second.
We want to move into executive session?
Executive session.
Okay, personnel and litigation matters?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moved.
Stay right here, I'll be really quick.
Telephone number on there.
I'd like to open up the Board of Supervisors meeting for the second time. We're coming out of executive session where we covered litigation issues. Is there any other motions to be made? Regular session.
I have one thing, if I could briefly bring it up. Snow plowing. Every year we go through my mailbox got knocked down.
Oh, yeah.
The township did it, it's vandalism, they did it on purpose, none of which is the case. We have these short, heavy snows, or slushy snows. As the snow is being discharged from the plows, they're hitting mailboxes. A lot of these mailboxes are old, they're not being maintained, they're incorrectly positioned, and they fall over.
Mhm.
We have a verbal policy, and we have had it for years, that the township does not replace mailboxes. We do not fix them. Now, the one or two times that a mailbox has actually been hit, which is, and it's happened on uncurbed roads that there's no curb that they can follow, the township immediately goes out and replaces it. Either the township replaces it or their contractor replaces it. We do not replace mailboxes if it's snow damaged. So we've had this verbal policy for years. I'd like to make it an official written policy that we can put on our website, put in the newsletters, so that we have it and we can point to it to residents. We've also for years now, and thanks to Madeline, been putting in how to place your mailboxes. Every fall, look at your mailboxes, bungee cord around them, put up reflectors, so we can see this kind of stuff. People aren't doing it, but they're quick to do the Monday morning quarterback
Yeah,
type
I read the
thing
letters.
and call us complaining. This is every year, and I'll tell you what, it wears not only on our road department, but our office too, because we're getting the brunt of the complaints, and the road department is trying their darndest to do what they can in the dark, late at night, hours after hours. So I'm just looking for a way that we can say, here's our policy.
Do you want a resolution?
We can do it as a resolution. I have two draft ones we can take a look at to see if it's worth doing. The one township has done it as an ordinance. We don't want an ordinance. I don't want to go to an ordinance thing. But if maybe we could look at it, yeah, could you? And see which one might be good for us. Anyway, I'm just looking for a way to make it easier on us
Yeah.
dealing with it.
Well, I think it should be in writing. I think it
I
should be on the
agree.
website. I mean, I think that,
I have it.
I mean, we verbally tell them, but if we put it in writing, here it is. I
Thank
mean,
you. Have you reviewed this yet, Bill?
He's looked
Yeah, I
at the
did.
Stafford one, but not the other.
I saw one of them, not the other, and
There's two the same.
Two different things.
Yeah,
Have
two
you seen
different
it
I
yet?
think it's fine. By
okay.
resolution, as a policy, this is the way
Yeah.
we'll respond to it.
Can we vote on something tonight so you can get it up on the website?
No, because we have to draft it up
Oh.
and put it together and change the names of the, we have to set it up for our work, for our own township. It could be ready next month.
Okay.
Of these
Well-
two, Mary, which is your preference?
Well, they're both short, sweet, and to the point. They
Right.
both pretty much say the same thing. I guess it's how you want to look at it. The one from the town of
Did you get a copy?
Burwell
Yeah.
actually has a damaged mailbox complaint form that also goes
She
with
doesn't
it.
love Madeline, doesn't
I'm not
she?
sure if we want to
copy.
go to, I'm sorry, not sure if we want to go to that point.
How can you miss this? Thank you.
Well, how about if I make a motion that we are in favor of drafting a written policy as a resolution of the township? That's my motion.
Okay.
Second it.
All in
And
favor?
Kevin just seconded.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Can,
We'll work it.
Can I just ask, I know we just passed this, but I just had a quick question. Are there some regulations that the feds from the Postal Service have about the condition of a mailbox?
No.
They have regulations about
Placement.
Placement, but not.
which is what I send out every.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, as far as it being like a rotten thing that sways in the breeze or whatever, they have no, like it has to be maintained or kept to, okay, that's too bad.
The one-year case in point where we had piles
Yeah.
and piles of snow, the mailboxes for a lot of residents were hidden. They were allowed to just put a cardboard box on top of a snow pile in front of their house with their number so they could get their mail. That's how bad the snow
Yeah.
was that year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't have, as long as there's a receptacle, they're good.
Okay. And I know that you can even stand out there and greet him and he'll give it to you, but, at least our guy does, but, I didn't know if they had some sort of,
I'm just looking at trying to make it easier on the road crew.
yeah.
And
It's
you,
not for the
you shouldn't have to
township
deal
staff
with
that We
this.
can say, we have a written policy, here it is.
Yeah.
We concur, Mary.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
And I've even seen some of these mailboxes where the condition of them, they're blowing in the breeze, they're waving at you because they're just,
We had it in one development where we actually went out and took a look, and people were complaining about the mailboxes. We noted that everyone was weed whacking around the base
Yeah.
of their mailboxes to the point where it was on a toothpick. And they don't realize that the screws underneath the mailboxes get rusted, a whole host of things.
Mhm.
But,
Right.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the BOS.
So
One second thought.
Oh, you can't second anything.
I can. For our record, there should be a motion to authorize me to settle the Ozarowski litigation on the terms that were discussed in executive session. And if those terms are accepted, then the case will be settled. I don't want to announce those terms in public, but terms were discussed in executive session, and I've been given authorization to reject their proposal and make a counter proposal at precisely the amount that was instructed to me in executive session.
I make
That's
that
my
motion? I'll second.
Everybody's heard the motion, it's been
Yep.
seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? Meeting, sir?
We
Yes.
we did that.
Oh, we did?
Mhm.
Motion to
No,
adjourn?
seconded mine.
I'll second it.
It's your motion, I'll second. How about that?
Does work. Aye.
Aye.
All right.